Hello, Mrs. Bada here. I am going to attempt to use this stand without anybody showing me how. So I'm going to try my best to use this stand so I can show you everything on the calculator so that I can get you through the first page of your homework. And this is also helpful for anyone who does not have a calculator with them right now. So what we've got going on is number one says we are now going to revisit our data from the homework yesterday, but with our calculator. And I think this is in reference to a lesson we didn't do. So what I want to tell you is this information is the results of a survey done at Ketchum High School to determine the effect of time spent on studying and grade point average. So we've got 10 students who were randomly selected with their study time and their GPA. And I want you to be thinking about, do we think that study time, the amount of study time, is going to have effect on your GPA, your grade point average? And what kind of effect? Is it going to be positive as your study time increases? Will your GPA possibly increase? Or is it negative? As your study time increases, does your GPA decrease? We're going to see. First thing we need to do is they are asking us in Part A to generate the equation for the line of best fit. And they tell us very specifically how to round. So what I want to show you is how we get that on our calculator. To get to these lists I have here, I want to remind you it's stat edit. You want to have your data entered in. If you have data that you want to clear, you just arrow up to the name of the list and hit clear and then enter. But we're ready to go here, so we're going to go to stat calc. I'm sure you can see this. And it's choice 4 for linear regression. I have my X list going into L1 and my Y list going into L2. X is your independent variable. That's study time. Study time is going to affect the Y value of your GPA. Excuse me, I pressed a weird button here. Okay. I have my information in my list. You hit enter, enter, enter until we get our information that we need. And let's be careful with our rounding. They said to round the slope to the nearest tenth. That is A. So the 6 is in the tenths place. The 8 is 5 or greater, so it tells us to round up. So our A value here is 1.7. And then B, they want us to round to the nearest integer. So 2 in the ones place is where we're stopping. And the 4 is in the tens place, and it tells us to stay because it is less than 5. So our equation is y equals 1.7x plus 62. And we can see that that's positive slope, which indicates that there's a positive correlation between study time and grade point average. All right, let's solve some problems here. B says, according to the linear regression model from Part A, this is it, what GPA to the nearest integer would result from studying 15 hours in a given week? Well, they're giving us information, and we got to figure out, are they giving us the X and the Y? Well, 15 hours refers to our study time, so they're saying X is 15. So we can substitute 15 in for X and get an approximation of what kind of grade you would get if you studied for 15 hours. And that is an 87.5. C says a passing average is defined as 65% or above. So a Y value of 65 or above. Does the model predict a passing average if the student spends no time studying? If time studying is X and there was no time studying, what value do we use for X? We're going to use 0. So let's substitute 0 in for X. Oops. And that gives us 0 plus 62, our y-intercept of 62. Your y-intercept is your starting point or the y value when x is 0. And so no, it is not passing. Justify, the word justify means show your work. So we don't need to write an explanation. This is enough. D says, for each additional hour that a student studies per week, how many points does the model predict the GPA will rise? Explain how you arrived at your answer. Well, this is referring to the slope when you compare the change in Y to the change in X. Each additional hour is a positive change in X. So that's a plus 1 hour in the positive direction for X. Well, since our slope was 1.7, what does that refer to? 1.7 refers to the points of your GPA over 1 hour. So the slope says that your GPA will rise 1.7 points per hour studied. Down here, don't worry about the window, but I do want you to create a scatter plot. So we'll go over that right now. Your stat plot should be turned on, but you can check it by hitting second Y equals. Mine is turned off. I hit enter on one, I hit enter on, and then I'm good. To get that scatter plot, it's zoom 9. And does it look like there's a positive correlation? Yes, it does. If I were to do a sketch, it would be like that. We could talk tomorrow about what the window would be like if we were to put it in ourselves. But zoom 9 is going to get you to exactly what you need to see. All right, that's it. Have a great night. Don't forget to do page 26 too.